Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Do I hear a motion of the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Prayer this evening will be given by Councilman McBride. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Our Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for your many blessings and your protection upon us. I pray, God, now that you be with us during this meeting. Thank you for the opportunity to serve you and also serve the citizens of Clinton. I pray for wisdom as we talk about the different matters before us tonight. I pray your continued blessings on our city. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Jim. Do you hear a motion for the review and approval of minutes of the previous meeting dated July 22nd, 2019?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. At this time, we'll recognize any visitor or citizen with any grievances or praises for the city. Please state your name and address, please, ma'am.
Terry Frank, Anderson County Mayor, and my address is 602 South Charles Seaver Boulevard or 100 North Main Street in my official capacity. First of all, thank you to City Council and then all of the great folks on your team for the Clinton 12 commemorative walk today. You are a model for how to organize something and protect the public safety, and everyone just did an amazing job. So I wanted to thank you for that. You should be proud of your team. I'm here. I had emailed you all a letter. We have a project in Anderson County where we are hoping to construct a new animal shelter. And I know we have a partnership and we help out the city of Clinton with stray animals and adopting those animals out. We would like to request that you perhaps partner with us on some property that you have on Carden Farm Road. The county does have land, but the land that we do have available does not have infrastructure. So we were thinking in terms of response for community, both in terms of accessibility for folks that would want to participate or adopt, or also just in the regulation of animals at large, that being inside the Clinton city limits would make great sense. And I emailed you a black and white parcel, but I also have a colored one. If you all want to look at that, I'm happy to pass that around. But what I'm hoping is that you might be willing to partner and you know, if that's a transfer with a reversion clause or a long-term lease that would make it eligible for us to apply for grants. Most of the grants, such as a CDBG, require long-term that qualifies as ownership, but I'm hopeful that you might be interested in partnering. These are a couple of the design drawings. We engaged the architectural firm of Bill Blankenship and Partners, and they've done a lot of great projects. You may be familiar with them. They've done, they did the airport. They've done a lot of work for UT, including the new golf facility that just opened, Blount County Library. So they are a top-tier firm, and we have already paid for that, and we're now in the final design stages with that firm.
Roger, would you like to make some comments on that, or is this is more in your notes, or?
Actually, I've been kind of working with Mayor Frank on this for several months, throwing around the idea, looking at the property. And, you know, I definitely think it would be a benefit for the city to have this in our city versus out Blockhouse Valley. One, it's closer. We do take our animals there. That's our main drop-off when we do have animals that we have to pick up. So it is a lot closer. The response time having to take there and get back into the city, of course, we don't have to leave the city. So I think it would be a benefit to us. And at this time, I would like to request authorization from council to work with Mayor Frank in Anderson County on a long-term, low-cost lease for the site with council's approval to obtain for the final lease agreement.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Now, you're saying a low-cost lease, it'd probably be $1 a year or
Do
something
something,
like that. just
and I'll get with the mayor, and we'll work out something once, like I said, she needs some kind of, something in writing now, an agreement, so she can go after grants, and usually that's a minimum 25 years, I think, with most of the grants that I've worked with. And then, you know, once they secure the funds, we can initiate that agreement, and then we'll work on the arrangements, what it'll be us taking animals there.
So for citizens, I mean, you and I have talked, but
Right.
the gist of this is the city would work with the county, allow them to have the property for, say, $1 a year or whatever. County then's gonna go seek grants
Yes,
to
sir.
try to help build the facility. So we'd be a partnership in this, and where the city would gain benefit, because if somebody was to ask, the city's gonna gain benefit because of when we take animals, it now costs the city X dollars to take an animal there, and hopefully the county and the city work together for a lower rate or something so that the
Yes.
city comes out ahead.
I think
So
we can do that.
kind
Yes.
of a
Yes.
partnership. There's,
Yes.
county's got something skin in the game, and the city's got some
Right.
skin in the game, yeah.
Yes.
And right now, we have really a very small facility, only 12 dog runs. And so, as you can imagine, there are times when we're having to shuffle and try to do the best we can do with that small of a facility. So the need is great.
So the county only has one. There's the Oak Ridge, they have I mean, I've never been to either. My wife and kids have been and brought back some dogs, but I think they went to Oak Ridge one time. But Oak Ridge has their own facility, is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But the county has the one in Blockhouse Valley.
Yes, sir.
And this would replace that.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Any
Where's
other-
the property? Is it right on the front end of Cardin?
It's right after you cross, if you go up past Town Talk into Cardin Farm, right after you cross the bridge and you take the sharp left, it's gonna be right there on your right. It's been vacant, it's 4.5 acres. I cannot tell you if anybody's ever looked at it for industrial property. It's not a very good site for industrial, but for this use, it would be a great site. It's also gonna be real close to where we're gonna be building the dog park, the 17 acres that we're getting ready to develop as a park. It's gonna be within a quarter of a mile of it.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry.
Good deal.
Anyone else? Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right. Communications from the mayor. Have a few things. First of all, to piggyback on what the county mayor was saying, the Clinton 12 commemorative walk today, I think it was fantastic. It's something, I was more appreciative just what the kids got out of it and what they'll remember from it. It was very well done. I think it just shows you, you know, regardless if it's a dog park or moving the convenience center or working to do some of these things, when people work together, individuals in governments, local, state, and county, that things can get done. I think we've shown that over the years that we've been here on council and worked very well with the county also. So I appreciate you, Terry. Also, I have some board appointments. I have two. Let me get those. First of all, the CUB board, Charles Price has decided to step down from CUB. And I want to tell you, Charles Price is a good man. And I really appreciate what he's done. I know what I'm getting choked up for. But he's really, I think he was very valuable in making the changes with the development. And I think he really brought that forefront and I hope it made CUB look at different things, different ways. So I really appreciate him serving on the board. I want to replace him with Steve Clapp. I'd like to appoint Steve Clapp, and it's Charles to finish his term July 1st, 2021. Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Also, Joe Roberts, his term ended on the 9/11. His term ends July, his term ended July 1st, 2019. I'd like to appoint Mark Lucas for that position four-year term ending July 1st, 2023. Hear a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That's all I have with that. One thing I did want to bring up, and I think maybe a couple people are here, if you'd like to comment, more than happy. But Vice Mayor Farah brought up maybe putting a gate at the end of Eagle Bend and just popping out because the people talked about it. And we had some discussion last meeting, and then I had purposely sought after people that lived on Eagle Bend in that street. And you know, it's just, it's kind of one thing from a general standpoint, you know, when you get more on Eagle Bend at Market Street, you get a lot of people that wanted the gate. They wanted it closed off because the industrial traffic gets pretty heavy 2 or 3 times a day. Then when you get kind of in the middle of that street that goes all the way to the end of Yarnell, is people really didn't care one way or the other. I don't, whatever, you know, it didn't matter one way or the other for me. But as you get closer to the end, Elizabeth Way and Meredith Farm and down that way, I got a lot of, no, I don't want to do that. So it's, and it's good to have that kind of discussion because it gets people involved. But personally, I feel satisfied that I'm personally not going to pursue that anymore. I think there's just too much to divide to do one or the other. So my vote is just keep it the way it is. And Vaughn, I would ask you, when we do open the road up, just get the police out there a little bit more and make sure that hopefully most people are going the speed limit. That's always been the issue, and the truck issue too. But I think that's the way to go, and I appreciate everybody's feedback on that.
Mayor, I'd like to comment on that publicly as well, too, if I may. I live on Eagle Bend, and I don't know where the nose started, but it'll start at least at my house. It may come back this way a little bit further. But I think we have to remember that street, just because you live on a street and you have Eagle Bend as your address, doesn't mean that you own any more of that street than anybody else. I mean, that's a city street. And so I think we have to remember that, you know, Councilman Stamey, I own as much of your street in front of your house as you own in front of my house. I
Mow
just,
my yard then.
well, I just own, we're just talking about the street. But my point is, it's a city street, so that street is a street for the citizens of Clinton. Just because it's part of your address doesn't mean that you own any more of it than anyone else. And then number two, I just don't think that we need to get in to doing things like that. You know, there's too much traffic here, so we'll put a gate up. So I appreciate what you've done. I'm with you 100%, have been with you from the beginning 100%, but I do think it's the best route to go. And there is some issues with policing at times, I'll agree. I pull out of there multiple times a day. I know from the police standpoint, though, it's usually during school zones, because people go to work about the same time they go to school, so there's a manpower issue there, I'm sure. There's that window of speeding in the mornings and afternoons. But anyway, you're welcome to sit in my driveway, and I share that driveway with 2 other neighbors. They're welcome to sit there anytime they want to, pitch a tent, we'll bring them some lemonade or whatever, but I do think the answer is to keep it open the way it is.
Thank you, Jim. Clinton School Board report, Kelly
Mayor,
Johnson.
May I just add a quick comment
Sure.
to that? I live on the other side of Eagle Bend, and so I would say having small children who walk that portion of Eagle Bend where there's a sidewalk, that it's not, I think the people that I spoke with, isn't a matter of whether somebody feels that they own more of the street, but it's more of a safety issue for citizens, not only that live there on Eagle Bend, but also that access J.C. Park from walkable areas in the city. Because the foot traffic that I see in front of 601 Eagle Bend, those people don't necessarily live on Eagle Bend, but they're walking to J.C. Park, they're accessing the park and the swimming pool via Eagle Bend. And sometimes when you have high rates of speed coming down the highway, it's a safety issue. And I will definitely demur to the mayor's council here and respect those citizens on the far side of Eagle Bend, because I think that's too much of an ask to inconvenience their egress and digress. But I just wanted to characterize some of the citizens weren't, why they were concerned, and it was a public safety issue. And I think it's a public safety issue that can be addressed through policing issues and other traffic controls, but.
Good comments, thank you. I was reminded that I had one more appointment, I'm sorry. For tourism, since Jason Brown did such a good job in the Anderson County Tourism, we're going to put him up for one more year. Are you up for one more year? One more year. All right, so I'd like to reappoint Jason Brown to the Anderson County Tourism Council Advisory Board, term ending June 30th, 2020. You hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further
Are
discussion?
you sure? No, I'm
I
just
haven't voted yet.
He barely got that motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That's all I have. Next up, Clinton School Board Report. Kelly Johnson.
I just wanted to be a tourist.
Good evening. A couple of Clinton City updates for you all this evening. Our 5th and 6th graders at Clinton Elementary School walked next door to Clinton Middle School today to participate in the Clinton 12 ceremony, which was very emotional and very meaningful. And the teachers and the students both said that that was well worth their time, and they were very glad that they were able to participate in that. So thanks to everyone who helped organize that for both Anderson County students and Clinton City students. So we eagerly await every summer for our test scores to see how we did on T and Ready. And so all of those scores have come in. So I wanted to share just kind of a high-level view with you of what those scores look like. And I put a visual in front of you that summarizes the success of Clinton City Schools this year. We are very, very proud of how our 3rd through 6th graders performed on the T and Ready test. A couple of highlights is when we look overall district-wide, they give different determinations based on a formula of how you have performed with achievement, with growth, with chronic absenteeism, with your English language learners. With high school, it would be graduation rate and some other metrics. For us in Clinton City Schools, because we are an all-elementary system, they focus with us on achievement, growth, and our chronically absent rate. And so they group it into different categories, and you can get in need of improvement, which of course we would never want to be, progressing, achieving, and then the highest ranking that you can receive is exemplary. And so when they looked at all of our data in terms of achievement, we got the exemplary status, which is the highest that you can get. And then there's another category called subgroup growth, and that is when they look at our different subgroups, such as economically disadvantaged, our special education students, and they look at the growth and the achievement of those subgroups. And our district performed in the achieving category in subgroup growth. And so the achievement portion counts for 60%, the subgroup counts for 40%. So when you mesh those together, we, for the second consecutive year in a row, achieved exemplary status. And so we were one of 20 districts in the state, of about 147 districts, achieved the exemplary status. And so that is something that we are super proud of. And we are currently working on our entrance city signs that are going to be a little bit bigger this year than they were that we put up last year that no one could read. So we're fixing that for the second year in a row that we are an exemplary system. So that puts us within the top 15% of districts across the state. So we are super proud of that. Also, we are proud to announce that Clinton Elementary School, for the second year in a row, is a reward school. And so they met the criteria, and that's the highest distinction for a school, individual school, that the state gives. And so we're proud that they are a reward school. And I'm very sad to report, and happy to report, but South Clinton missed it by 0.3 of a point. And so you talk about being painful. They were right there, 0.3 of a point. So in my book, they're a reward school. They accomplish great things as well. Then on the flip side, from the district determinations, we also receive a score on what's called our growth or our value added. You might hear it called TVOS. We like all kinds of crazy names in education. But this is where they rank your system from a level 1 to a level 5 based on our student growth, so how students performed last year, and then how we took them and grew them academically in a year's time. And so I'm proud to announce for the 6th consecutive year, our district composite score is a 5, which is the highest level that you can receive. So certainly lots to celebrate this year with T and Ready. I'm very, very proud of our staff members and our students who work so very hard. Part of that success is the support that you give, the support that the community gives, and the support that school board gives. And so I think there again, we're just in a unique situation where we all are working for the betterment of our schools, and you can see what can happen when everybody works together. So super proud. So I wanted that to be our highlight of today. So that, I'm just, when you're on top like that, you just stop talking. So any questions for me?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Like I
Thank
said,
you.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, we have to start making up words. What's that commercial they keep on going back? It's fantastic, or they start making words past that. But y'all done a fantastic job. You really
Well,
have. Really proud of you.
certainly it's the hard work of the teachers and the
Yeah.
students. We just have a great place.
Ms. Johnson, continuous prayers for you and your family. But I understand you had a
Thank you.
school board retreat with central office. And the talk around town obviously is growth, and we're very pleased with that. Did growth come up in your conversations?
It
Since you
did.
put a
It
five-year
did.
plan together, what does that
It
look like?
did. So school board had their annual retreat at the Spindle Tree on Friday, and we had a great day together. Part of that conversation was discussing, we did our 5-year strategic plan Vision 2020, which is coming up on its end. And so we're beginning in the beginning stages of working on our new 5-year strategic plan, which will be called Amplify 2025. And basically, we chose the word amplify because of our success. We feel like that we just need to continue amplifying the good things that we're doing in Clinton City Schools. We did have Janet Hawkins from the Anderson County Chamber of Commerce came and spoke to us about the new subdivision developments and the new business growth that we're experiencing in Clinton. And we had some candid conversations about how we feel like that will affect our enrollment at Clinton City. We are currently up by about 25, 30 students this year compared to last year. I will tell you that we are busting at the seams in grades K through 3. And we are hovering right there at the BEP minimum teacher-student ratio. So we are seeing them come out of the woodworks in K through 3. You can have up to 25 kids in a classroom of 4 through 6, and so we have a little bit of wiggle room left in there, but we certainly don't want our classes hitting 24 and 25 kids because we know that we need to keep them as low as possible. But we did talk about that, and I think the biggest question will be for us if the subdivisions are annexed into the city. If they are, we currently are busting at South Clinton and Clinton Elementary. We are doing interventions in the hallways. We're doing interventions in just about any place that we can find to put children. There is not an empty classroom left in either one of those schools. And so certainly as we look at what happens with those subdivisions, we are prepared at the possibility that we will be exploring adding on to Clinton Elementary and South Clinton.
Good. Congratulations.
Kelly, you're talking about economic disadvantage, the percentage. I had heard, or am I correct in saying that number has actually been decreasing over the last few years?
Been decreasing, yes.
Yeah.
Across the whole state of Tennessee, the poverty rates have been decreasing, which is great for our state, but it also, that's how federal funds are based. And so we are seeing a decrease in our title funds or federal funds because our poverty rate is decreasing.
But that's still a good sign.
It's good, it's a great sign.
Yeah, for the city and
Yes,
county.
absolutely.
One more question. You said that your growth, was it 25? How many students increased?
We increased by about 25, 30 kids.
How many of that is in sixth grade? Do you know
We
offhand?
increased, last year we graduated 90 sixth grade, and I think this year, right now, we have about 105 sixth graders.
So a lot of that is
Yes,
from that.
yes, we are keeping sixth graders.
Yeah. Great.
Which is good.
That's
And I
great.
think a lot of that is attributed to
Yep,
the
I agree.
extracurricular, well-rounded activities, the Blaze activities that we're offering. Another cool fun fact, I said I wasn't going to talk anymore, but this is too good not to share. We just received the results of our obesity rate in Clinton City Schools, and we decreased it by 10% in 1 year. So last year it went down and by 10%, and I do think that that has a whole lot to do with the well-rounded activities that we're providing.
That's great. Thank you, Kelly.
Anything else?
Is Scott coming up tonight?
Scott, we're letting him off the hook because he flew solo last week, and I don't even really want to know if he did a good job or
He did a
not.
great
So we're going
job.
to give him a month off.
He did a great job. Thank you, Kelly. Any questions for Kelly? Thank you. Clinton Regional Planning Commission report, Councilman Gann.
The Clinton Regional Planning Commission met on August 12th. Applicant STNL Clinton LLC requested site plan approval and final plat approval for property located at Fox Family Lane. This is the preliminary work on a Tractor Supply beyond Fox Toyota there. There were some drainage issues and everything. Subject to those being corrected, their application was approved. Applicant Black Horse Capital Partners requesting annexation and B4 zoning approval for property located at Sinking Springs Road. And then you may notice right below that, also requesting final plat approval for property located at Sinking Springs Road, contingent upon city council approval and annexation. This is the property near the Shell station, currently looking at development. I know one of the things they're going to do there, we approved Sinking Springs Road will be straightened out instead of being diagonal now, which will give us a better, lot size for development there. And hopefully that may be carried over into the Glen Alpine development, whatever and whenever that is. The Planning Commission voted to recommend this to City Council for consideration for annexation and therefore zoning changes. And then Aspire Foundation requesting site plan approval for property located on Yarnell Road. This is continuing in phase 1 of the Market Terrace area, trying to make sure we're getting drainage and everything else taken care of there. Again, this is only the first phase. This is one there. They're looking at traffic and how they're going to get in and out and a lot of things there. So this is moving on, and to this point, we've approved what the actions they've taken. And then finally, Jinks and Dudley Bostic requesting final plat approval for property located at 333 Market Street. This was primarily a redivision of properties there in preparation for future development, and Planning Commission did approve that. Also, the BZA met on the same night. One item, Eric Woodard requesting side setback variance to 7 feet, rear setback to 5 feet, located at 216 Hillcrest Street. This was for a storage building, and all neighbors were in compliance with this. And in fact, I think he'd already started on constructing this when our codes enforcement officer told him he might need to get a permit. And after that, we did, subject to consideration, we did approve that.
Any questions for Councilman Gann? Larry, I had a couple. You got a comment first. Talking about TIFs and new developments. I'm pro TIF, and there's pro TIF, there's anti TIFs, and but I really want to bring this up because Terry's in the audience too. Is when we were with ACETA, when you work with industrial, we have a matrix. If you have this much many $1 million in equipment, if you're going to hire this many people, this is your abatement. And it's just a little, XY axis, and this is it. There's no questions. This is set. And I don't think we have that from the retail piece with TIFs. And I would like to see that. And I'd like, Terry, if you could, whatever your position is, hopefully you can bring that up. Roger, we can bring it up. But I think there needs to be, when people come in and ask for a TIF, we already know what it is, what they qualify for. And we don't have that right now. So we have a lot of questions about, it's like Tractor Supply. There's been a lot of questions. Well, do we need to give them a TIF? I don't know, because we don't have that set. So I want to talk about this publicly so we can start having more discussions around that, and hopefully we can develop, and maybe we can copy other cities and counties. I'm not opposed to that. But I think we need something that we can just show them and say, this is what you qualify for based on your capital investment, based on your employees, your economic impact, whatever it is, and so this is what you qualify for, or you don't qualify for it. Because I know when this gets out, we're about to let the rabbit out of the cage, so to speak, and everybody's going to ask for a TIF. And I don't know if everybody should qualify for a TIF. And that's just my opinion. But I just wanted to throw that out as a group, so when we do see people, maybe talk about it a little bit more, talk about it with the chamber, Mr. Manitoff, who wrote our TIF, and just kind of get more of a concrete.
Have we done a TIF?
We have not done one yet. We're in the process.
What was that one? Remind me. That's right.
So that's
Yes,
already been
yes,
approved. Okay. I didn't know. I knew we had some in the hopper, so to speak, but we haven't. Okay.
We've
Yeah.
done one, and we've actually got 3 come down. One will be on this property here.
Right here.
Okay.
It's a very good TIF. There's two other possible ones. There's actually an IDB meeting this Thursday at 4:30. Talk about the other two, which TIFs are done through the IDB. We just approve them. But Mr. Manitoff is putting on a workshop later in September to talk about these same issues that the mayor is talking about. His comment to me is that the mayor is correct. All projects are not,
Not equal.
TIFs are not good for all projects. Some projects are very good for them. So I think he wants to have this workshop to kind of explain that. I know he's doing it at the chamber. I'll find out, who all can come and certainly get that invitation out to you all.
Right, thank you. One other question I had, just out of curiosity, was the development for that Jinx and Dudley down on Market Street. Talking about a P1 zoning, can you talk a little bit about that, what that's going to look like?
I'm not really sure. I'd have to go back and look at notes. That is probably part of the downtown development, that public use.
Yeah, the P1 is not for that. The P1 is a proposed zone for a park, for the Aspire Park, and probably even for our 17 acres in South Clinton. It's a new proposed zone that they're just looking at.
So this is for Aspire.
Well, it'd be
Hoskins Park would be,
could fall under
could
too.
fall into that too.
If it wasn't going to be developed?
Well, I think they've redivided the properties there where it can be developed.
Okay.
And there still will be a remainder that will be a park.
Okay, all right.
So what happened there, the final, did you, with down on Market Street?
It's just a
It's just a
redivision of property.
redivision, when you say
They
redivision.
separated the drugstore and the,
Oh, well, that all was
It
one
was,
parcel.
it was one parcel.
Gotcha,
and
gotcha.
they separated the two.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any further discussion? Thanks, Larry. Clinton Utilities Board report, Councilman Farron.
Thank you, Mayor. And just to clarify my former comments, I meant to say yield to the mayor, not demur to the mayor, so, clear the record there.
Did you demur me?
I demurred, I meant to say yield.
I made a note
I
of that.
misspoke.
I made a note of that, Mayor. We were gonna talk about that later.
Looked it up.
Yeah.
We got you back, Mayor.
Using those
Appreciate
Vanderbilt
that.
words.
I know.
Okay, Clinton Utility Board. I think coming out of the last board meeting, we have approved what I call the residential developer policies. And we have, in my opinion, codified those measures, and we're in the process of putting them in a way that we can disseminate it to the public and promote it. And I think that's what I understand council's been asking for. Where is the sort of the brochure, if you will, or where's the promotion piece that we can promote the development? That's still in the process of being put together in such a fashion that's going to be a net positive. So one of the members of the board, Steve Combs, had some questions about making sure that we have the right verbiage and that we didn't sort of backtrack on our progress, if you will, because our general manager was given the mandate to make sure that the policies were workable. So I'm satisfied that they are, but we tabled them, basically we tabled a motion for a month to get clarification on that issue. Speaking with general manager, I feel very confident, very comfortable that the mandate of the board and the spirit of what the board is trying to do is being enacted and being carried out. I think it is noteworthy that we want to be sure that the policies are workable for the developer, for the ratepayer, and that in fact the matter is, when our water and sewer, we had to raise rates because we were losing money. So in that environment where you are raising rates on the ratepayer because you're losing money on water and sewer, we want to be sure that our policies are fiscally responsible. And again, I feel that they certainly are, and they're going to encourage development, and we're going to be friends to both the residential developer and to that ratepayer. We do. I want to echo what the mayor said about Charles Price. He will be missed. He was he's a great man, and he's a good friend. to CUB and to the citizens of Clinton. Having said that, we look forward to having Mr. Clapp on board, and I'll answer any questions.
Any questions for Zach? I always seem like I got a point to make, but I want to say one more thing about that. I got a little bit of a briefing, if you will, about the changes that were tabled for next meeting. I would almost like to go to the approach where let's put into effect what we've passed and what we've all agreed to, and give it 6 months or a year, then review it. Then if we need to make changes then, let's do it then. I think what we've done and worked to is good incentives. And I just like to, let's run with this for a little while before we start changing it. And if you are going to, if the board is thinking about changing it, then I hope you all are talking to developers to make sure this makes sense. Is it going to deter you to come to invest in Clinton before we put those additional policies in place? That's my only thought about that. Anything else? Larry, do you have anything under other board and committee reports?
Just very proud, very happy about it, the way everything went with the Green McAdoo involvement today. I think they've got some more of their ideas that we're working on, but this was a big hurdle and very, very well received by the community, and we couldn't be happier. I think the cultural organization ordered, I think, either 200 or 250 books. I can't believe that we got very many left.
Oh, wow. Great. Thank you, Larry. General Government Report, Mr. Houck.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for some information, we did receive notification a couple weeks ago that we received our Transportation Alternative Program grant, which was for pedestrian improvements and streetscaping from Lakefront Park Trail up Broad Street to Main Street and down to North Hicks Street. This is a $708,000 project with $556,000 coming from the federal government and $141,000 local match. This is phase one of the project. Phase two of the grant program applications actually came out today, and I'll be meeting next week with TDOT representatives to talk about what phase two could be or will be. More than likely, it'll be doing the same improvements to Market Street, probably from Main up to Weaver Street. Now, the thing with these grants, even though we've received it now, we'll actually go to Nashville next month and get the official notification or receiving of it. Once you receive these grants, they don't get in a hurry. It's kind of like the LPRF that we're dealing with now, except even slower. Once we've received it, they tell us it's about 2 years before you break ground on it. So even though 2 years before we break ground, we'll apply for the next phase of it, which is due in October, will be awarded next August. So in theory, we could have 3 phases of this thing awarded and never break ground on phase one. But it's the state's grant process. And it's 80-20 matching grant, so it's a pretty good grant to go for.
And that phase two will be Market Street.
More than likely, Neil Hansen, who is the number 2 guy with TDOT that oversees this, will actually come next Tuesday or Wednesday and walk downtown with me, and we'll show him a couple different ideas, either Market Street up to Weaver or continuing down from North Hicks on down Main Street up to Weaver and see which he thinks would be the best phase. We think Market Street probably would be. And a lot of that's going to depend on CUB too, because what we're doing when we tear up the sidewalks, that's going to allow CUB to move their water and sewer lines out of the street, and they're going to be able to put new water and sewer into the sidewalks, replacing water and sewer lines that are over 100 years old. And we're working with CUB and their new water department engineer on doing this.
Have you all spoken any more about sharing that 20% match?
We have not got that detailed yet now.
Let me ask you a question. When you say you've stated here that provide pedestrian improvements, streetscaping, what exactly, what does that look like?
Good example would be some of the stuff they done on Cumberland Avenue, Central Avenue in Knoxville. We'll probably do some traffic calming on Main Street, that type of stuff.
So as this goes back to going down to one lane and putting trees in the middle of the road and things like that, is that what you're talking about?
Probably not on Main. It may narrow some of it down to calm it down a little bit to make it more pedestrian friendly on Main. What we'd like to do is get some of the truck traffic off of Main. It could be some new lighting. It does not allow for street lighting, but it allows for pedestrian lighting.
Okay.
It would allow for some planters, that type of stuff on the street.
Larger sidewalks, wider sidewalks.
wider sidewalks.
So the sidewalk would come out probably into the road?
Correct.
That, you'd have to come that direction?
Yes.
Yeah.
Projects and activities, the December city council meeting in conjunction with the annual employees Christmas luncheon. I'd recommend that we reschedule the December city council meeting for Wednesday, December the 18th at 1:30, immediately following the luncheon. Main reason we've scheduled it for a Wednesday, school lets out on the 20th at 11:30 that day. A couple years ago, we did it when school let out, and it was pretty much a fiasco at the center with school out. We were trying to do the luncheon, so we looked at backing up, doing it on a Wednesday this year, if that's okay with council.
Hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
With the recent administrative staff changes, it is now necessary to appoint a new deputy city recorder. In accordance with requirements of Article 4, Section 6 of the City of Clinton Charter, I am therefore appointing Gail Cook as deputy city recorder. Request city council's approval of this appointment.
Hear a motion for approval?
So move.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Does that come with a big pay raise? Understand. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Kathy Shootman was our other city recorder, and she, of course, retired, so. Finance, I'll defer to Gail.
You've got your July report, not a lot to report. You remember most of our revenues go back into June, so you don't see a lot of revenues in the month of July. Our expenses are about what they were last year, a little bit increased, but of course we had raises and stuff that took effect this year. And some of our expenses, we pay out some significant insurance and stuff in that first couple of months, so that's why you see that. Sales tax, we ended this 12-month cycle for the city with a 7.91% increase. County was, I think, close to 12%. I looked at the year-to-date. I track it now based on each individual city and the county, just the county itself. The county actually had an increase of 18.6, so those are businesses that are not within any city limits. Oak Ridge was almost 11%, so we've seen, the growth down there. Norris, almost 18%, and Oliver Springs, 8%. Rocky Top was the only one that decreased for the year. So all the cities and the county as well this year had some pretty good growth in sales tax.
Good year. Any questions for Gail? Thanks, Gail.
Thank you, Gail. In accordance with the city's fund balance policy, we hereby request authorization to assign fund balance for the following. From the excess local revenues, $500,000 for the fire truck approved in a prior council meeting, and for Harbor Drive easement issues and paving of that road, $250,000.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Okay, so the 500,000 is for the fire truck that we approved.
A couple meetings ago. yes.
Basically, we're paying cash for a fire
Yes.
truck. That truck will be delivered sometime next year though, right? Is that
Uh,
right? Or,
May, probably,
okay,
around that time.
so we've got the money already.
It's just reserves,
Set aside.
assigns,
It'll be assigned.
signs. the
Okay,
money for it.
that's
Yes.
great.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, guys. Last one, Recreation Department is requesting to purchase a new truck to replace a 2009 Ford truck with over 194,000 miles with a bad transmission. A new truck is available for purchase on the expiring statewide contract from the Ford of Murfreesboro at a total cost of $25,803. As we have done previously, we would like to negotiate with a local dealer for a comparable truck at the same or lower cost. Based on that need to replace the vehicle, we request authorization to purchase a Ford F-150 pickup truck or comparable model, either from Ford of Murfreesboro or a local dealer at a cost not to exceed $26,000.
Hear a motion to approve?
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Now, Mr. Houck, is there any possible way we can deal with the local dealer? Have we tried it obviously before and it's hard to?
We've did it before. This has just happened so quick, and then we were out of town in training last
Sure,
week,
right.
so we found what was on state contract. They've actually only got one left because this is the end of the contract year. So they've got one down there, we know, but of course I want to go back to the local dealers. I have not had time to even talk to them. So I'd like to go talk to, all the local dealers here and see if they can match it.
Are they able to at times?
Yeah, they're pretty much able to, because what they'll do, if they don't have one on their lot, they'll see what they can find in the area. And of course, we would like to try to deal with
Sure.
our local guys here in town if at all
I
possible.
agree, okay.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
That's all I've got, Mayor.
Any other questions for Roger?
I've got two. The monthly question, Magnet Mills.
We had an update Thursday, which kind of update you all Tuesday of last week. We had a staff meeting Monday, and also had our attorneys on the phone, and we came up with that we had not seen any real progress from the cleanup in about 45 days. So we hand-delivered to the attorney and to the owner a letter giving them till September 13th, which was a Friday, to resume cleanup. If not, we were condemning the property on Monday, the 16th. And of course, once we condemn it, that they're not allowed on property, or that we could charge them with trespassing, and then we would take over the cleanup. Thursday, our attorney got an email from the owner and the attorney saying that the holdup had been, and they had told us this once before, that their buyer was waiting to hear from their engineers whether they could use the concrete on site as fill, and that they got a report back that they could not, so cleanup would resume this week. And believe it or not, cleanup resumed today. So we'll keep an eye on it and kind of see there, but they're still telling us they have a contract to sell it. And, once again, they've been put on notice, so.
So now, if they come over there and prowl around a little bit here and there between now and September the 13th, I mean, how can we judge that? I mean, you know what, does that make, you know where
Well, I
I'm
mean,
going
when we
with
tell them
this?
clean up, we've told them weeds cut, everything.
Yeah.
So I don't think
If any of that is not done, can we move in there and take care of that?
I think if a good portion of it's not done by the 13th, I think we can.
I mean, the majority of it needs to be done, not the minority of it.
I think
That-
so.
Does that make
I
sense?
mean, that's, roughly 3 weeks, I think, a good portion of it.
And we are prepared and we'll be prepared on the 16th and, okay, awesome. And then what would happen in that case, we could take over cleanup
And put
and put a lien against the
And that's what
property.
we've told them.
And that's the plan.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, my fear is they're gonna push a little dirt and rubble this direction,
Yeah,
and then
push that same.
push
dirt
that same dirt and rubble back that direction and
Yeah.
say, hey, we're doing something. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, is there has to be some sort of quantifiable measurements that they're meeting progress and they're not operating in bad faith. And if they're operating in bad faith, I think,
In any amount of bad faith.
correct, I would be in favor of being aggressive with the condemning the property.
Okay, that's awesome. I mean, I'm glad we're that way. I guess my next question is, if this goes down this road again, do we have to wait 45 days? Can we, I mean, I know your comment was, that this is our first time to do this, but
don't-
like this, next time, can we go, there's been no significant progress in 21 days? Or,
I think that would be a legal question. My thought would be no, if on the 13th, we don't have significant, maybe we send them a letter or take them a letter, and that's what we did. We hand-delivered it and tell them a week, and then if they haven't done anything, we condemn it. and
but
move
then they
in.
come along and they start working, and then they pull off again the end of September, and we wait another 45 days till now we're in November, because they worked for 2 good weeks, but then they, this beloved buyer had some more questions, so they pulled off again, which I don't believe there's a buyer. I hope there is, but I don't believe it, because we've heard that so many
Well,
times.
the other good thing is, and I didn't tell you
But
this.
I don't want us to wait 45 days each
Right.
time.
We did receive another check 2 weeks ago, or less than that.
They have paid off the 95 some thousand, it actually totaled over $100,000 with interest on the junk vehicles. And then they also pay their clerk and master delinquent taxes, which had the 15 some thousand dollars plus interest and penalties for cleanup costs we had assessed. It went to clerk and master, and they have paid up all of that at this point.
And they did
as
that
of
since the
about a
last
week ago.
meeting. They paid another check to clerk and master 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So,
They paid 67
maybe there is a buyer.
So,
My next question is, the issue with, the pollutants in the air out off of the industrial park. I have experienced that personally myself. It's a black speck that's on my truck, and as far as washing the truck, you take a normal brush or a normal sponge, you can't get it off. But if you take one of these nylon type pads like you clean dishes with, I mean, nothing real abrasive, but you have to do that to get it off. So what's the latest on that? And if it's been turned over to somebody, when will we hear a report? How long do we wait for something like that to happen? I have reason to believe there's some people out there prowling around to try to find the problem, but
on the 14th of this month, we received some other complaints, so I contacted TDEC in Knoxville, actually the people that came out and talked to us about the fly ash. I don't remember the lady's name, but she's actually the director of this area, and she actually put me in touch with the Air Pollution Division of TDEC. They actually came out the next day and surveyed the area, actually went and talked to some of the residents and took some samples out Elizabethton Way and some of that area, and told me they would respond back once they got some of their I guess, reports back from some of their samples. I have not heard back from
so
them.
is it reasonable maybe between now and next meeting?
Oh, yeah,
If you
definitely.
haven't heard anything, to maybe touch base with them?
Yeah,
Because I'm sure
absolutely.
those folks are getting a lot more than I'm getting.
But that's kind of our enforcement arm would be TDEC at this point.
Okay.
Donnie, would you like to say something? Just state your name and address, please.
I'm Donnie Rosenbaum, and I live where you were talking about, right at the far end of Eagle Bend. And we got a big difference now than it was a couple of weeks ago. I have no complaints with it now, and I want to thank Scott for coming out and getting on that as quick as he can. And I had two men from the environmental in Nashville come to my house personally and visit with me about it, and I showed them the problem we had. And it's, in my point of view, I can live with what's out there now. It's improved that much. But I guess we need to keep an eye on that. One more thing I'd like to mention while I'm up here about the road that you was talking about, closed or whatever. I'm fine with the way it is. There's one thing that I wish, and I don't think where I can bring this up or not, but as soon as that road is opened back up, I would appreciate, at least during the morning and work times when they're coming to work, or in the evening when they're leaving to go home, to have the police out there somewhere watching them. I live right across from the station there, and I got a straightaway. There's another straightaway on out there. And I guess they're in a hurry to get home from work, because once they turn off Yarnell on the Eagle Bend, I mean, they just floor it. And it's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, as far as I know, all the way out through there. And I believe if, we had some more officers showing themselves, that would help a lot as far as the speeding. But other than that, I just want to make a comment when you was talking about that dust problem we had. And I appreciate you very much and the city, for jumping on it for us and getting that took care of. It's pretty bad there for a couple of days, but I appreciate you very much.
Thanks, Donnie. I know Vaughn well enough, you only have to tell him once, you don't have to tell him twice, he'll be, take care of it.
Mayor, I had some comments about the air pollution. I mean, I have some deep misgivings that an industry just however it happened. Let's say theoretically, one of our fellow industries just decided to discharge something up in the air. And now we're in sort of retrospect trying to figure out what it was and what happened. What's the consequences of breathing that? And how often, how long will they do it again? So, I hope that our state agencies that we pass whatever we can do as a council, let's see and make sure that we are doing that. because that scares me. That if you're talking about, you couldn't wipe it off your
Not mine.
your car. You had to go get some abrasion. So think about what if you're breathing that stuff. And so I don't know how it happened. They've been there, theoretically, allegedly, what all those precursor words. But it seems like this is a new event, to my knowledge. So I hope that we can get some answers for our citizens, and because that, to me, that's scary.
I will say the industries we talked to, they were very proactive in looking to see if it was something that they were doing differently or wrong. And I don't know what combination that was, but I know what they changed seemed to have worked, and it's fixed the problem. But we still need to stay on top of it. Thanks again. Anything else for Roger? Thanks, Roger. Under ordinances, resolutions, I'm have to take a little different path for this annexation, so we'll start with resolution number 780, Sinking Springs Road Annexation and Plan of Services. This is the Black Horse Capital Partners. Hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann?
Yes.
Councilman McBride?
Yes.
Councilman Harrell?
Yes.
Councilman Stamey?
Yes.
Councilman Hatmaker?
Yes.
Councilman Farron?
Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes, resolution number 780 passes on first reading. Now going back to ordinance number 644, this is the Sinking Springs Road zoning. Hear approval for that.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann?
Yes.
Councilman McBride?
Yes.
Councilman Harrell?
Yes.
Councilman Stamey?
Yes.
Councilman Hatmaker?
Yes.
Councilman Farron?
Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes, ordinance number 644 passes on first reading. Now going back down to resolution number 781, this is the TML Driver Safety Grant. Hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roger, can you talk a little bit about this?
This is just what's the match on this?
It's a 50/50.
It's a 50/50
$8,000
grant through
grant.
our public entity partners, which is our liability and workers' comp insurance, that we can buy safety equipment that's dealing with driving. It's kind of, I'm not even sure what all we can buy.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann?
Yes.
Councilman McBride?
Yes.
Councilman Harrell?
Yes.
Councilman Stamey?
Yes.
Councilman Hatmaker?
Yes.
Councilman Farron?
Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes, resolution number 781 passes. Any old business before us?
Just to Mr. Hauk, the top 10 list, I guess we've asked about it several times down the road. Is it improving to the part, maybe we don't have a total of 10, or should we, Mr. McBride liked that list?
It's on your.
Yeah, it's in the, I had trouble finding it too.
Okay.
But I think what you're saying was, you're saying there weren't 10 on there?
Exactly.
I mean, I
Keep
think
pushing.
it's improving with two people in the building and codes department.
Right.
You know, John's kind of taking care of the planning for the most part and the inspections, and it's allowing Jason to do more of the codes. So I think, we're definitely improving. I mean, you drive around some of the other cities close to us, you
Sure.
see many more properties and houses that are in a lot worse shape than here, and it's, still just a battle. But, working with property rights, but I think we're definitely improving.
We just hadn't taken anybody to court in a while. Do we need to do that? Is there anything
Well,
on
we've
here that
had,
we
I mean,
can,
we-
that we can help the staff do?
He's got a couple now. We just tore one down across from North Clinton School, last weekend. And I think the school may be looking at even purchasing that property for some parking that they need.
Okay.
So we've,
Well, I'm like Councilman Stamey, I'm butting in here, but I just want to, whatever we can do to help city staff,
Sure.
do it, and do it well. If it's something that this body needs to take action on, just please bring it to us, don't.
A bond passed to the guy, John and Jason, that did a real nice, whoever's doing that report. That's finally what we're looking for. It's a good timeline as far as what's been progressed, from the get-go, so I appreciate that. Any other old business?
I guess it'd be news business.
Any new business?
Mayor, may I?
Please.
Roger, I had a question. Let's say theoretically Big Ed's Pizza wanted to purchase the cab stand.
Big Ed's Pizza is not coming to Clinton. Let me tell you, nor Chick-fil-A. It's not going to be a combo restaurant, I promise you.
So that's why I use the word theoretically.
They didn't hear that part.
And just say they're going to serve pizza and beer there, and it's going to be roped off or whatever. Are we currently zoned to even allow that type of activity?
Not there.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be close.
Where on Market Street could that happen, and what could this body do, if anything, to pass ordinances or resolutions or whatever that may be to allow a restaurant, a pub, a brewery, a pizzeria, a whatever?
We actually have a new sample ordinance, beer ordinance, one, because our current beer ordinance is in conflict with state law to allow the microbrewery style restaurants or things. Right now, state law allows them. Our city beer ordinance does not. This came up last spring. We've been working with MTS to rewrite it. Just things have been so busy this summer, we've not been able to finalize that. We probably need to do that here in the next couple of months, get that to city council. You know, the biggest hindrance we got right now is the 500-foot restriction, and that is only for the beer ordinance. If you get a liquor license, that's out the window. You can be right next door to a playground, church, or school. So if you go get your state liquor license, that doesn't matter. You can serve beer or liquor. You know, a lot of cities have looked at that and has shortened that distance or done away with it altogether to coincide with a liquor license. You know, the big issue that's coming up in today's world is, and I don't know what you call them for the lack of a better word, some of the churches that are moving into retail spaces. And that's where we're having issues. If you have a church move into if you could have it on Market Street, beer, but then you had a church move into the middle of Market Street, which is a retail area, and then you couldn't get your beer permit. Or if you had the restaurant there already, and then the church moved into one of those buildings, and the restaurant closed, and nobody moved back in for 6 months, then you couldn't get it. The perfect example, we've got the church moving in up to the Food Line Shopping Center, which you have the Mexican restaurant there. They're going to be able to keep their beer license, but if they ever shut down and shut down for longer than 6 months, nobody else could go back in there and get a beer license.
The reason I ask, for me personally, after what are you doing with Magnet Mills, the second biggest question I get asked is, when are we going to be able to have a pizzeria and a type of place on Market Street that allows serving of alcohol? And I think they want to see something along the lines of a microbrewery, and I don't know if that's what this council wants to do or if that's right for this city, but I just wanted to know what procedurally needed to take place for that to be accomplished, and thank you.
We'll get a sample of the new ordinance from MTS to y'all in the next 60 days for y'all to look at and consider with some options.
Any other new business?
I have one item that I'd like to make a motion, and if it gets a second, then we'll talk about it specifically. But I would like to ask that city staff, city manager, get back in touch with Lamar Advertising and talk about reskinning the billboards at the interstate. I know those can be reskinned at any time. It doesn't have to be with a renewal, but I have some ideas of things that can go on there. Not that we would take antiques off, but antiques would only be part of it. But I'll stop at that. If we get a second, it may be voted down, but if we get a second, we can discuss it.
Second that. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
My discussion is, and where this is coming from, is I think we have several things to talk about when we talk about our city. I think antiques they're good, and I'm fine with that. That brings people in, talks about how, and people have said this, it brings it by other retail. But we've had several good things that's happened in our city recently that I think could be a benefit to folks traveling the interstate. Number one are our schools. I think if you were to brag on the schools, if you would put some verbiage from this reading, and again, Lamar Advertising those folks do this every day. They can, you can give them 6 or 8 things and say, okay, make us a good billboard here. But I think our schools would be a good bullet point, for lack of a better term. I think jobs. I think that you look around right now, you have a lot of jobs, people who are looking for jobs in this area, or people who are looking for workers in this area. I think housing. I think that you have a lot of going on there. I think the dining. We've got some things changing. I think, didn't Taco Bell coming to the interstate, and hopefully some other things once Tractor Supply or some of those other retailers come. But I'd just like to see us enter into a discussion of that. Again, antiques, shopping can be one of the specific bullet points, but I still think that as a city, and I would say that the city then fund the billboards 100%. It's not right for a specific group of retailers to pay any on that, but let's have billboards for the entire city. And I'll hush.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, Jim, before, I guess, 2 or 3 months ago when we brought this up, I voted against that. But what I voted for was to keep the 3 billboards. And since then, I have noticed the billboards on the interstate, and 2 of them you can just barely read.
And that's
And
another
there's
thing.
a lot of trees, whoever can contact whoever. We need to try to get those retrimmed so you can see. On the reskinning, can we not come up with a committee that knows a little bit more about wordage, I guess, on a billboard?
Well, I've done billboards a couple of times at my business, and that's what kind of Lamar's supposed to help you
Sure,
with, and be
okay.
creative and be eye-catching. Again, this is just to enter into the discussion. City staff may come back and we may reskin one of the 3.
This is just to give Roger the authorization
Yeah,
to
sure.
enter into a
Yeah, not
dialogue.
that we're going to change it tomorrow,
Exactly,
but
I
let's talk
understand.
about, and we've got 3 that say the same thing. Maybe we leave 2 of them alone and we reskin
Gotcha.
one of them. Maybe we reskin 2 of them, leave the other one alone. I mean, but we've got some good things that are going on here, schools, jobs, housing, and advertise that. Let folks know that.
Well, I feel like we're rehashing what we talked about a couple months ago. I mean, again, we just have a different viewpoints on this. I believe what we're talking about as far as downtown Clinton is a destination, it's an attraction, it's to get people off the road. I don't think a Taco Bell is going to get people off the road. So, I think if we want to bring it up when the contract's up again, we can, but I'm not going to change my stance, what we talked about 1 or 2 months ago. That's just my personal view.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
I just want to bring it up.
I respect what you're saying.
2 questions, Roger. Number 1, how long will the process take? And number 2, my understanding is $1,500 cost to reskin, and the contract renews next year.
The contract renewed this year.
Yeah, contract renews every June for those, I think, May or June, I think, for those.
Well, then,
Larry, I don't know how, it depends on the size of the board, how much it costs to reskin it, and there's a couple of different sizes, I just have to pull my file back up and look.
I'm not against consideration, but with the contract in existence, I don't think we need to really make any changes until the next contract and initiate any costs now. We can consider a lot of things.
And I can ask them now to be considering that idea, when it comes up in the spring.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I don't know that it requires a motion for Roger to go to them and say, give us some ideas if we went a different direction.
Because Jim's right, it's not an overnight process, it's a lengthy process.
Right,
And
that's
believe me,
fine.
I would love for somebody else to do it than me, because I hate picking colors out. But,
I don't think we're on any timetable, and particularly with the contract next June. Let's evaluate all options there. We got till next June to evaluate, do we want to keep what we got? Do we want to make changes? What direction we want to go?
Can we not trim them? Get some.
Let's trim the things, yeah.
Okay. Either that, or I got a good chainsaw, I'll go up there.
Get you for trespassing.
I want to see you climb that pole.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
What are we voting now?
My motion was to ask city staff to enter into conversations with Lamar to get some ideas to include other things besides specific to one, to branch out, talk about the schools, talk about jobs, talk about dining as a whole. I mean, Taco Bell's not a destination, but just be more general for the city.
but we're not voting to
Let's
rescind.
wait till they get it. We'll wait till they get it.
No, man, I don't think that.
We're gonna wait till Big Ed's comes in to Clinton to do
Blaze
that.
Pizza, I think, would be a really
But
good
I'd like to ask that
pizzeria.
you report back to us in a couple of months.
It-
I mean, you know, kind of let us
Just
know.
say,
Can you reopen
Because-
discussion?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna vote no because I don't think it's necessary. I think Roger,
Could do it anyway.
I think Roger can do that anyway, so I don't think the motion
Well, I
is
think the
necessary.
directive of this council, though, a few months ago said leave them as is.
Well, that's what, I guess that's one of my issues, because we've already voted on this, and now we're kind of taking it a different angle to get the different
We're
results.
gonna leave them, but that doesn't preclude him from having discussions.
Right.
And then vote it down.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann,
No?
Councilman McBride.
Yes.
Councilman Harrell.
Yes.
Councilman Stamey,
yes.
Councilman Hatmaker,
Yes.
Councilman Fair,
No.
and Mayor Burton.
No. Motion passes 4-3. Before we adjourn, Roger, what do you want to do about this beer board? Is anybody here from the chamber?
She was.
Do they, somebody need to be present for this to be passed?
Yeah. I think with some of the security questions and that, they about have to.
Was, I didn't read anything in this too. Is there a limit
I think it's October.
to how many beverages? Is it in, was it in this?
Last year, there was.
Is there a mechanism by which you can, police that too?
I think that would be up to the beer board.
Can we call, I mean,
Well, I
5 days
called
from now, 10 days from now, can we have a special called meeting? We show up specifically for this?
It has to be 60 days prior to the event.
When's the event?
October the
October 10th
11th.
and 11th, or 11th and 12th,
11th and 12th.
something like that.
I think that would be some requirements, the way the ordinance is written, Councilman McBride, that the beer board could restrict.
But you have application. Roger, is it application 60 days?
Yes,
They're not
yes.
within 60 days right now.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Application has been in.
The approval doesn't require 60
Okay.
days.
Okay.
Only 40-some days till the event.
You're
Yeah.
saying they could come before us next month?
I don't know if you want to do next month, but you could, I guess, do special call.
Why couldn't you do it next month?
We meet on the 23rd.
Well, next month would be, yeah.
Well, so the application has to be in within 60 days. That's been taken care of. Approval can happen
You
anytime.
do next meeting?
Because you
Okay.
still got 2 weeks before, even by
Yeah.
doing it.
We could do that.
Anything else?
And
Motion.
if Bill Riggs finds out otherwise, we can
Have a special call.
check your email.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Means adjourn.